Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X-Men number 81, cover dated November 1998. The cover caption declares Rogue and Gambit reunited, but will it be in death? And we have obviously there on the cover both Rogue and Gambit. Rogue still wearing a version of her original costume, which she'd taken to doing in recent issues. There's a new character attacking her. We'll discover a little bit more about that new antagonist in the story itself. And of course, Gambit looks like he's in a bit of trouble there too. Now, the cover is by Adam Kubert, pencils and inks by him. There's a little note on the signature scroll, thanks to JL, and I was wondering about who JL was, and my theory is it's Jason Liebig, who's the assistant editor, and he must have made some suggestion to Adam Kubert that he's acknowledging there below the signature. Let's open this one up to the splash page, and you can see it features Marrow and Nightcrawler, so a pretty cool opening image there of Nightcrawler teleporting around Marrow as she's standing there. And she's saying to him that whatever it is he wants her to do, it looks stupid. Looks can be deceiving, Liebkin. He responds, take yours truly, for instance. Furry on the outside, suave on the inside. And she comes back to him and says, like I said, looks stupid. And what's a Liebkin? And he says, if I tell you, will you stop or rather drop the Sturm und Drang and play with us? So Sturm und Drang is the storm and thunder, and Liebchen, of course, love in German. But what's going on here? Let's turn the page and we get a really cool double page spread by Adam Kubert. And there we go. So it's the Danger Room and the X-Men are training. So a really old trope of the X-Men comics, one we haven't seen in a while though. We've got the title of the story up here in the corner, Jack of Hearts, Queen of Death, and the creator credits by Joe Kelly and Adam Kubert. And over here, the rest of the creative team, Mark Farmer, inker. So Kubert and Mark Farmer had teamed up, collaborated during Adam Kubert's run on Incredible Hulk. So they're continuing that penciling and inking partnership for these issues of Adjectiveless X-Men. Steve Buccellato is on board as guest colorist, and the rounding out the creative team, we have Richard Starkings and Comicraft on the digital lettering. So like I said, a very cool double page spread where we get to see the X-Men in action there, training in the Danger Room. I like the storytelling of Nightcrawler teleporting from where Marrow is all the way over here. And the shot there of Wolverine as well, dodging, it seems, this log that is swinging on these chains. There's a lot going on in this particular double page spread. So let's continue what's going on. Marrow is still insistent that she is not going to partake in the training in the Danger Room, and she says she's in no mood to storm back off. And then where do you want to go in terms of the panel to panel flow? Don't you want to go from here to here? But actually that's wrong. We're supposed to go across the page for the three tiers of panels. So for me, that's a little bit of a fail, because when I reread this issue in advance of making this video review commentary, this is where I went, and over here, and by about the point that I got to here, I started getting confused. So then I realized I was supposed to go down the page here. It's the opposite of what I'm saying. That's how confusing it is. I went down the page this way, and then I came to realize once I was down here and went up here that I should have been going across and across and across. There you go. Can you follow that? It's confusing, and I'm surprised that editorial let this pass as a layout on these pages without a little arrow there or something to indicate that that was the direction of panel to panel flow. But let's get back into the story now. Marrow's being stroppy, she won't play ball. There's a little bit of banter here between Kitty Pryde and Colossus. Really nice storytelling and acting in the figure work by Adam Kubert. And then we come to the crunch here where Storm hands over to Logan to deal with Marrow. And Logan says, got it. You don't want to play with the group. That's fine, kid. But then you're going to get your private lesson in table manners with me. So she snarls a response. Bring it on, old man. Beat you before I could do it again. That's a reference to when she stuck one of her bones in his throat back in X-Men number 72. And he responds with a big smile on his face. Could be, or it could be, that I let you get in that shot just to see what you were made of. Could be that now I know all sides of you. Could be that I owe you and I aim to pay. Really like the lighting here on Wolverine's face, the spotting of blacks. I think it's very well done by Kubert, as well as the storytelling of him lighting up the cigar, taking a drag on it, and then smoking it there at the end of the 4-panel sequence. Marrow retorts to him, I'm not in the mood to embarrass you again, Wolverine. Be grateful. Then she hesitates. What are you looking at? Let's get this over with. But she walks away, and Nightcrawler says to Wolverine, I thought one caught more flies with honey than vinegar. One can, elf, he responds, but I prefer a big honkin' fly swatter any day. And one last observation before moving off this sequence is Adam Kubert's decision here to end the square panel sequence with a borderless panel, which varies the layout. But again, final point, don't think the layout on these 2 pages was a success. Now let's turn over the page, and we have a location, a new location, but on the grounds of Xavier's estate, and it is down at the waters of Spittin' Devil Cove. And there's the boathouse that Scott and Jean lived in after they got married. That's going all the way back to issue 30 of the title when they got married. And down there we've got Gambit. He's returned with the X-Men from Seoul. The story that was told in Uncanny X-Men 361. And he is doing his own spot of exercising and training when there's a creak on one of the boards of the little pier, the wooden pier there. And then we get a really cool DeLuca effect where he somersaults backwards and grabs some cards out of the pocket of his trench coat and lands there on one of these, what are these called? These kind of mooring stakes in the lake. And he says, who that there? But you ain't going to have time to answer for I shoved these cards. And who is it? Of course, it's Rogue. And so Gambit stands up. Bonjour, Rogue, he says. You a long way from the mansion, lost, or did you know I'd shacked up in Scott and Jean's old place? So she doesn't say anything. He goes right up to her. He says, come on, Belle, you're killing me here. Say something, say anything, Cher. But notice the kinetically charged cards are waiting to be thrown. Let's turn the page. And she whispers in his ear, Gambit, you're about to blow off your hand, and don't call me Cher, sugar. So he throws away the cards, little comic moment. They explode in the water. He's covered in lake water himself. Really like the way that Adam Kubert there has rendered the wet mop of hair on Gambit's head and how it's covering his eyes, and he has to lift it up with the back of his hand. I think that's really well done. Rogue is gone and Wolverine's there. He tells Gambit that she's back at the house LeBeau waiting for you, and Gambit is beginning to head up the steps back to the house. He says, I'd hate to disappoint the lady, but Wolverine grabs him by the arm. Again, this is really great storytelling by Kubert, and once again, we have a 9-panel grid on this particular page, and he has made the decision, and it's always one to remember for any artists out there, to have one panel be borderless here, and also have the characters breaking what would be the panel border and bleeding off the edge of the page, the artwork. So Wolverine says to Gambit, listen good, because I don't plan to rehash this. Xavier's is a place for second chances, even after all the lies, the trial, reference to Uncanny X-Men 350. It's good that you're back, but you play us all for fools or break that girl's heart again. We're going to have words, strong ones, you dig. And Gambit says, Thanks for the pep talk, Frere. Nice to see you again too. Okay. So then the scene switches to Boston, Massachusetts, and the Maparium in the Christian Science Monitor building. And we get a little history there that it was built in 1935 by old world craftsmen who had fled Germany. So that means the Third Reich. And the implication is they might have been Jewish craftsmen. Though geographically frozen in time, the chamber still functions as a sanctuary in which to reflect upon one's place in the world of today. So I've never been to Boston, but I'm assuming that Adam Kubert used some photo reference here for the drawing of the location and the inside of this Maparium building. And here is the focus for this little scene. It's this woman who's wearing a cloak with a hood up, and she's speaking to herself and saying, "You're telling me to sit here, yes, sit and wait. The voices don't lie. The voices tell me to come, and I will obey." So is this a mentally ill person? The security guard there tells her, ma'am, do the voices ask you to be quiet so that other patrons can enjoy the Maparium? So she apologizes. He walks away, and then she says, "I think I will kill him first." Well, after I kill the lovers, of course, then he'll be first. This is very exciting. So which lovers is she referring to, and who are the voices in her head? Just a few miles to the south at Xavier's, we have a panel there, someone's hand touching a rose, and it turns out to be in Storm's attic at the mansion, and she's filled it once again with plants and flowers and hanging baskets there. And so the room now has life in it once again after it was stripped bare during the Operation Zero Tolerance phase. And so Storm says, after the violation by Bastion Zero Tolerance, our home, it was reduced to little more than a tomb, Peter, because this is Peter Rasputin, aka Colossus. But now finally, between the return of old friends, so that's the trio of Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Kitty Pryde or Shadowcat, there is life here again, she says, a fresh beginning. Though one cannot help but wonder how long it will last. The professor's condition remains a mystery we must soon solve, and Gambit, here again, as mysteriously as when he disappeared after the trial in Antarctica. It tears open old wounds in all of us. I can only imagine what Rogue is going through. And I like the reflection of Storm in the glass there in Buccellato's colours. It's well done. And Peter here is sniffing this rose, and Storm there with a smile on her face says, "Poor Peter, well, perhaps this new beginning means a chance at new love for you as well. I understand Kitty is available." And in shock, he turns into, defensively as well, into his living metallic armoured form, and he denies that there's any interest between him and Kitty, even though they were kind of, there was some flirtatious banter between them in the Danger Room sequence earlier on, and Storm there smiles, "Of course not, Peter. How silly of me to bring it up." Because Kitty was involved with Pete Wisdom when they were all members of Excalibur, but that has come to an end. And then the scene switches to Boston, and who's there? Except for these erstwhile lovers, Rogue and Gambit. That's a really great shot by Adam Kubert. This top-down view of, what is the pronunciation of this? Faneuil Hall? Is that right? I mean, like, the word is French, but sometimes other language words have an Americanized English pronunciation in the States. So is it Faneuil Hall or is it Faneuil Hall? If any of you know, let me know in the comments. And so we have a conversation between Rogue and Gambit. And Rogue says of Boston, "There's something refined about Boston, civilized, reminds me of the South," she says. "I spent some time here once as a teenager. The smell of it reminds me of dancing, laughs, but mainly I didn't want to be anywhere near the X-Men when we had our little chat. Walls, floors, ceilings and bathrooms in that place have ears, and I'm having none of it. This is between us." So Gambit's brought a flower, a white rose. He says, "This is for you, to new beginnings," with a big smile on his face. And she rebuffs him, white, White lilies are for death, that go for roses too. And off she flies. And Gambit there with the rose wilting in his hand sighs, "Dear Lord, give me the strength." So how is he going to win Rogue over? He's got a lot of making up to do to her. So he runs after her across the rooftops. He says, "You want me to tell you how I got back from Antarctica? All I remember is walking for 1,000 years through cold and white." And he says, "Maybe you'd like to hear it was cleansing, my penance. Or do you want me to say that when you left me there, my heart died and nothing cold filled the space? Do you want me to say that I hate you for leaving me?" So she lands on the side of this dome here. "You hate me?" she exclaims with confusion. "Who are you to make judgments? I didn't want to leave you, but you. I looked for you as soon as I could. I went back for you." And then the chat has to be interrupted. There's got to be a complication in the plot. There's got to be action. And so the whole dome explodes, or a part of it explodes. And out emerges this figure from the cover. And she reveals herself to have the name Kali. And she says, or rather, is that her name that she's given? She says lovers. So that then reveals that she was expecting Rogue and Gambit to arrive in Boston. "Share your last kiss, as it has been ordained by the prophets. The time has come for my trials to begin. The time has come for Kali to rain death upon the earth." So Kali is the Hindu goddess of death and destruction, and is the implication that this young woman is Indian. Is she a mutant? What is going on with this weapon behind her back? What is the green energy that's arcing around her figure as well? Well, it seems to have destructive power, that she was able to blast her way through the dome. And let's continue into the story. Get past the advertisements here. But the scene switches back to Xavier's. And there's a game here being played, a dangerous game with Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, where she's throwing knives around him and just about missing his top of his head there. And she says, "Sorry, Logan, it's too soon for me to make jokes about breaking up with Pete Wisdom," because Logan just mentioned that in this particular panel. "Affairs of the heart," he says, "always the best, always the worst. Don't worry, kid. You get stomped on by life enough times, you learn not to let it get to you like me." So, this is interesting because Joe Kelly is taking this time to establish that some of these X-Men characters have long-standing relationships. And of course, Wolverine and Kitty Pryde have a very long one. And he has had the role of mentor to her back in the day, in particular when they were in Japan and so on and so forth. So they've got this long-standing, almost father-daughter type relationship. And Kitty, though, is well capable of hitting back at him, with affection when she says to him here, "Oh goody, you mean I can be as warm and as open as you, Mr. Tough Guy? Or is it Mr. Viper on your wedding license?" So this is a reference to recent continuity over in the Wolverine solo title, where Wolverine got married to Viper, one of his former enemies. So he's kind of like his speech balloon there, dripping with ice. "Excuse me, gotcha," she says with a smile on her face. It's a nice little scene by Joe Kelly. And then we're back to Boston. We're back to the action. So Gambit is launching off some of those kinetically charged playing cards. But the woman here, let's call her Kali, says, "They say the two of you, so powerful, so vital, are the perfect first sacrifice to Kali." So is she Kali or is she a servant of Kali? It's a little bit ambiguous. So Rogue is flying in behind her, but she's alert to Rogue's arrival and catches her with the end of that, what would I call it, like scythe blade, rips off some of Rogue's costume. But of course, Rogue is supposed to be invulnerable, but she cries out in pain, and that gets Gambit's attention. This is a really cool panel here by Adam Kubert, this tight close-up on Gambit's eye, and you can see the emotion that he really does care for Rogue. He's not play acting about any of that. Let's turn the page. Oh, this is an interesting double page advertisement in this issue for Joe Kubert correspondence course on comic book art. And so, of course, you've got Joe Kubert himself, Andy Kubert and Adam Kubert pictured there. You've got endorsements from Will Eisner and even Frank Miller as well. Intriguing stuff. Did anyone watching this video pay for this correspondence course or do it? I wonder, what was it like? You can see here what you would get. Each course book is a giant 11 inch by 17 inch printed in full color on coated stock, spiral bound with a durable clipboard cover, a full kit of professional art tools, etc, etc. Intriguing. But back into the story. Here's Gambit. He's enraged. Mauveau fee. If you so much as scratch that woman, you're going to pay. So she's able to stop his bow staff, and we get a little bit about what's going on with her, whether she's a mutant or not. She says, or rather Gambit protests. He protests when she says, "Your lover is not dead yet, boy. I've not tested myself enough to dispose of her." And Gambit replies, "You ain't gonna have the chance, and she ain't my lover." So they haven't reconciled yet, Rogue and Gambit. The antagonist responds, "Well, the voices aren't always right. They used to tell me I was going to be a model, then a nun, once the glands started popping up." So that must be these green kind of blobs on her skin, that they're glands and they've something to do with her power. Whatever about the voices, though, she says. Once the glands started popping up, they finally made up their minds. But she is caught from behind by Rogue. Rogue says, "I don't usually make it a habit to beat the snot out of girls who obviously got mental problems, Callie, but you couldn't have picked a day where I felt less sympathetic." And the woman responds, "I do not need your sympathy, girl. I need you and your lover to die to prove my might." So Rogue retorts, "Stop calling us that." And then she crashes herself and Callie into the side of the building there. So I like this panel idea where the sound effect is the panel. And this is definitely laid out by Adam Kubert rather than Richard Starkings. So it's pretty cool. And then Rogue picks herself up, throws a punch at Callie, but Callie ducks it, and jumps up here to duck a second punch with Rogue's right fist. And all the while Rogue is arguing, "If I was in love, would I have turned my back on the only good thing that ever happened to me? If we were meant to be together, wouldn't I have forgiven him his past sins and taken him in with open arms? Would I have left the man I loved to die in a snowy," she was going to say maybe wilderness or hell, "I don't know," says Callie. "I never had a boyfriend, but I do know that we always hurt what we love the most." That's very Claremontian. And she continues, "And right now, child," another Claremontian phrase to refer to someone as a child, "Callie loves you to death." But who's going to come in for the rescue except for Gambit? Let's turn the page. There he is. And he whacks Callie with a kinetically charged, it looks like part of a steel girder. So that's a pretty dynamic anchor image there. And he says, "Sometimes you hurt the ones who deserve it too. And then sometimes trying not to hurt anyone, you make things worse. Rogue, what you said about Antarctica, that wasn't you. It was my fault, Cher." And she says to him, "No, Remy, leaving you there, I can't forgive myself." And here we go. This was the explanation that the writers had come up with. "Rogue, when you kissed me at the trial, absorbed my mind. You absorbed my self-hate along with it. You left me because I wanted to be left, because I wanted to die. But the truth is, once I came face to face with it, I didn't want to go. I couldn't, because I couldn't bear the thought of dying without seeing you again." So there's a tear that she's shedding there. I don't hate you, Rogue. I could never hate you. And of course, what's he about to say, or what would we expect him to say? I love you. But this Callie one interrupts. Interesting layout here. This curve for the gutter between the top tier of 3 panels in this one, as well as the choice to have Callie break the panel border too. So she says she's enraged. This is not about you two. This is about me, my ascension, my test. So who's testing her? You're not here to make up. You're here to die, she says. So Rogue, this is an interesting little image. It's like Rogue is rescuing Gambit there, the way that he's sitting in her arms. The girl's got some serious issues, she says, of her own self-importance. Gambit says, what say we flatten this third wheel and roll the party elsewhere, Cher, so we can finish this under more civilized circumstances? And Rogue replies, if I didn't know any better, Mr. LeBeau, I'd swear there was a hint of the old scoundrel in that proposition. And that's what most of us readers are looking forward to, is the return of Gambit, Rogue, scoundrel, rather than Gambit, emo, drip, which he had been at the end of Lobdell's run. Is that bad, he asks. No, it's perfect, she says, even as his finger begins to touch her chin there, but it's the finger that has the glove on it. Bombs away, so they attack this Callie one. That's a really cool upshot there of Rogue's face. It's really well done by Kubert. And the layout on this double page spread is pretty cool too. The vertical panels, but arcing over this particular state building here. And so Rogue punches Callie all the way through the roof of this church, down into the wooden pews. Hope that wasn't too over the top, she says, as she flies Gambit down through the hole. Nah, petite, replies Gambit. She got rocks in her head and lead in her behind. She fine. So what does this Callie one say? She says, this was supposed to be my day, the day I became a goddess, but you two, you ruined it for me, and I swear you'll pay. So then she starts glowing. There's a humming going on. By the way, the voices wanted me to tell you, you make a wonderful couple. And then this green energy emerges through all of the apertures of the state building, just as Rogue and Gambit fly out, or Rogue flies Gambit out. Let's get past the advertisements here. And then the aftermath. So the fire brigade is being called, and Rogue and Gambit are atop this high-rise building. And Rogue says, no sign of our would-be goddess, whatever her story was, aside from being crazy. Think she was a mutant? Gambit replies, could be. More to the point, you ever notice you and I can't go on a date without being jumped? So now back into the conversation. She says, Rogue says to Gambit, only voice I want to hear now is yours. Before, when you said you didn't hate me, you were cut off by that woman. And Gambit there says, was I funny? I don't remember. So Rogue isn't in the mood for any games. Remy LeBeau, don't play with me. Nothing about this day went like I dreamed, so I want a straight answer. So he's being roguish. You dreamed about this, really? And what did I do in this dream? So she leans into him. She says, in one version, you came crawling in like a dog. I punched you across the state and back. Then you walked away free of your spectre. And he says, are we going there, Cher? If so, I'll save you the trouble and start walking. And then she leans up towards him. The other was, you swooping in like hellfire, all eyes and arms and lips, pulling me to you and telling me that the past is the past and the future is open and you still love me like I still love you. Finish what you were going to say before, please say it, Remy. And he doesn't. He gets caught. He says, aye. And then that's really, really well done by Kubert. So look at the way she's biting her lower lip there, and then her chin starts to buckle. Really conveys the emotion that she's upset. That's really well done by Adam Kubert. Excellent stuff. And she turns away from him, bows her head and says, you can't do it, can you? Something so simple, but you're still afraid, aren't you? So he's just stuttering there, aye. And off she flies. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have pushed so far, so fast. You need time, fine. Just don't expect me to wait forever. But he grabs his own throat. He's choking. His eyes are popping. And someone off panel, there's a tendril of green smoke that wraps around his body. It looks like I arrived here just in time, my beloved. Otherwise, you might have pledged yourself to another when you already belong to me. So Gambit recognizes who it is. He's in shock. You, he asks. And this female face comes up to his cheek and kisses him. Yes, me, here to tell you, lover, if you touch that harlot again, I'll kill her and everything else you care for. You're mine now. And Gambit is able to ask, God, what have I done? So a reminder that at the end of Uncanny X-Men 361, there was a scene where it showed us, it came with Gambit talking about how he walked back from Antarctica, from where he was left in Antarctica, but there was 2 sets of footprints in the snow. So, who is this? And did he make a deal in order to get out of Antarctica? Who could this be? A rival for Rogue, and seemingly a powerful one that has a grip on Gambit. Next, though, the hunt for Xavier. Storm did mention that it was time to deal with the mystery of where Xavier could be after the conclusion of Operation Zero Tolerance. He went missing. So where is he? And so there's going to be a crossover now between X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, exactly to answer that question. There's the letters page here at the end. There was 23 pages of story and art in this issue. A couple of letters there, nothing terribly interesting about them. Statement of ownership, and the number here is the average number of copies printed over the preceding 12 months, 367,000. And the actual number of a single issue published nearest to filing date, 315,000. So the print run on Adjectiveless X-Men is going down year to year. Comic sales going down at the end of the 90s. There you go. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on X-Men number 81, Rogue and Gambit Reunited, but they're, what would I call it again? They're coming together, thwarted first by Kali and then by whoever this additional female figure is at the end of the story. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.